Trial of a North Carolina woman accused of helping her husband kill his former lover is expected to begin today. Prosecutors claim Amanda Hayes and her husband lured the victim to their apartment, then killed her and dismembered her body back in 2011. Hayes' husband was found guilty of the murder last year. Joining me now, Jonna Skilbor, a criminal defense attorney, and Phil Snyder, a former prosecutor. Jonna, I've covered a lot of cases, and this is about as twisted as they get. Apparently, this man, Grant Hayes, had children with both women. His ex-girlfriend, or I guess girlfriend at the time, was suing him over custody of the two children they had together. So the prosecution's theory is that the married couple lured the girlfriend to the apartment, killed her, dismembered her body, and then drove her 1,200 miles away to Texas. All right, that's the background. He has been convicted. Now, her attorneys, as she goes on trial for first-degree murder, her attorneys are saying they may call him to testify. Is that even possible?
Yeah, well, it is possible, but in this case, to me, it doesn't make any sense. It is possible because there is a spousal privilege in most states. In North Carolina, the person who holds the privilege is the witness spouse. In other words, Amanda Hayes doesn't have it. Her husband, Grant Hayes, does. So if he wanted to testify on her behalf or wanted to testify, period, he could. But in this case, because he's already been convicted, and his theory is, hey, I didn't really do it. My wife did, but it was a big accident. That flies in the face of Amanda Hayes' defense, which is, I had nothing to do with it, and anything I did have to do with it after the fact was under duress because my husband's a big old bully. So I don't know how it's going to benefit Amanda Hayes to have him take the stand in her defense.
Let me read, Phil, some of what he just told a North Carolina television station. He says, of the encounter between these two women that apparently took place in the apartment. He says words were exchanged and Laura jumped Amanda. Now, Laura is the girlfriend. Amanda tells me that Laura had made a threat to take her child away from her, and the next thing she knew, Laura had her by the hair and was dragging her. So he's trying to, I guess, blame the murder of the girlfriend on the girlfriend, saying she acted first and that his wife only acted basically in self-defense.
Right. I mean, well, he's now in jail, and he'll say whatever he can just to try to maybe save his skin.
He's doing
at this
a life
point,
term.
Save her skin. He's doing a life term, but he does say have an appeal pending potentially, so it's important that he doesn't take the witness stand under oath, cross-examined by an experienced prosecutor, and get himself into hot water. So at this point, agreeing with Jonna, I don't see him taking the stand in her case, and if they do call him, I think he will plead the fifth, so he doesn't have to testify.
Yeah, he went on to tell WRAL in North Carolina, he says, here I am, a black man in an apartment with a dead white lady who's been suing me. My wife's story didn't seem strong enough to compel someone to believe that there wasn't foul play involving me. So he's trying to say that the reason they went through this whole thing, cutting up the body, driving 1,200 miles with it, dumping it in Texas, is because he was afraid that he was going to look like the bad guy. Apparently, Jonna, that's exactly what the jury thought, because he's now doing life without the possibility of parole.
Yep, I think his story is bunk. So did the jury, but that's going to help Amanda Hayes, because the other interesting thing is prosecutors added that charge of accessory after the fact in addition to the first-degree murder to Amanda Hayes, which means prosecutors probably think there's a good chance they can't prove first-degree murder against her, especially since she can point her finger at an empty chair and go, hey, the guy who really did it, my husband, is serving a life term for this murder right now.
Yeah, it's hard to understand. He's saying basically, Phil, that his wife did kill her, but it was all in self-defense, and yet he's doing life without parole on a first-degree murder charge.
John, here's the bottom line. And regardless of what Jonna says, you have a case where another individual is chopped up, put into coolers, driven across the country, poured acid on, and the jury is going to look like this, like Clydesdales, and they're going to look at Amanda Hayes and say that is a bad person, and they are going to convict her for accessory after the fact, and they're going to convict her for murder because she is such a heinous and vile person, and they're not going to believe a word that she has to say.
Here's one other quote that maybe undermines what apparently he's trying to do. He says, Again, this is what he told the television station. If you look at the facts of this case, and Ackerson's body being found where it was found, that being in Texas, Amanda Hayes involving her sister, this was Amanda's show. I'm not trying to give the impression that I'm pushing blame and responsibility off on Amanda. I was just as much invested in protecting my family as she was. Sounds to me like, you know, this guy who's supposed to be called as a defense witness is blaming his wife for the murder.
Yeah, trying to throw her right under the bus. And it's self-serving because he's filed an appeal, and this is going to help him, I think he thinks, in that regard. But the bottom line is he had the motive, he had the opportunity, and not for nothing. He's a man, she's a woman. It's not that hard physically to overpower a woman, which is what he did. Chopping her up and putting her in cooler. Listen, if you mistakenly kill somebody, do you do that, John? Do you make that effort? Do you buy a power saw, get caught on tape doing it, buy coolers, put it in a van, and then drive halfway across the country? If you're innocent, I don't think so.
All right, but does that, you know, is there enough evidence there, Phil, for a first-degree murder conviction against his wife?
Well, here's the thing. There may be enough evidence against her. There may not be enough evidence against her. But the defense's problem is that it's such a heinous and vile act. It's uncomfortable. And they're going to look at those pictures and they're going to hear this story. And the jury's going to sit there and going to say, I'm not giving her the benefit of the doubt. I know that's what the legal standard is, but I'm not giving her reasonable doubt. She's going to have to show me something that says why I should find her not guilty of murder. And that's not going to happen in this case. This case is so brutal and gruesome that I think the jury is going to be disgusted with her. And if the evidence is even remotely there, they're going to come back with a murder conviction and accessory after the fact conviction.
Well, the theory is that he talked to the television station, Jonna, so that he can sort of avoid talking during the trial. Is that a plausible possibility? I mean, his words to the TV station can be used as evidence, right?
No, generally no. So that probably will be kept out of Amanda Hayes' trial, because that would, if we can't cross-examine him, those words should not come in. So that's, again, just a self-serving statement on his part.
All right. Well, it's a strange and, like I said,
Ugly.
a twisted case. Jonna Spilbor, Phil Snyder, we'll keep an eye on it and let you know what the jury decides in this one. Thank you both.